The reality of what a car crash a Labour government will be is now unfolding before our eyes. They are getting away with things in opposition that will rip them apart in government. Labour put a muzzle on Deputy Leader Angela Rayner for around 42 days while she was fending off a housing scandal. The second she's back, she says, "Personally, I would like to see Diane Abbott back in the Labour Party." Grief. It has to follow procedures. Yesterday, Miss Abbott asked Starmer directly and he ignored her. This is what he said to journalists today.
The comments that have been made about Diane Abbott by the Tory donor Hester are abhorrent. They're racist, they're misogynistic. There is a separate issue, which is about the investigation into Diane Abbott herself. Diane Abbott has suffered an incredible amount of abuse over many, many years, and we must support her, but the two issues are separate.
There is a gaping wound in the Labour Party here. Other Labour politicians want the MP for Hackney North and Stoke Newington back too. Sana Begum said it loud and proud on the BBC last night.
Absolutely. She should have the whip restored. She is a trailblazer.
And Jess Phillips has told Sky's Beth Rigby for it to end in this sort of sticky horror where everybody's fighting just seems a real shame. So I would much prefer to see Diane Abbott have the whip restored. Remember that Diane Abbott lost the whip for what many regarded as racist remarks about Jews and travellers. She used to support the IRA, reportedly. She's praised Chairman Mao. She loves Jeremy Corbyn. Starmer's deputy leader wants her back. So does the Labour left. What does he do? He can't say it's a changed Labour Party with Abbott back. That's a problem. Yesterday, Labour tried to sneak Andy McDonald's return under the radar after his riveted the seat remarks. Starmer caved into pressure from the left there. That's a problem. But Labour are divided over Gaza. And I dare say foreign policy in the Middle East in general. That's another problem. Nearly 100 MPs would have rebelled over the Gaza ceasefire. Starmer got a massive let-off, not being hauled before the Privileges Committee for allegedly leaning on Speaker Lindsay Hoyle. He was very lucky there, was old Beer Cormer. One day, the Teflon will wear off. Trans issues. Starmer wants to ban men in women's sports. But he's got prominent backbenchers like Angela Rayner saying stuff like this.
Labour will offer the country to pick up legislating to protect the LGBT community with a comprehensive trans-inclusive ban on conversion therapy. I would have liked to get it done sooner. It will happen. We just have to make progress, and it's very sad that, as honourable friend said, it's taken longer than the Brexit negotiations.
That's a problem for him. Labour dropped its £28 billion Green pledge. Massive disquiet on the backbenches. They've got a problem on the climate. The likes of Clive Lewis were up in arms about it. Economic competence. There's no money, really, for Labour to spend if they get into government. Rachel Reeves has just made a massive clanger in her tax calculations. There will be a rebellion when MPs see that they are just another austerity party. Massive problem. And who will these MPs be? And this is the crucial point for me. If Labour does win a landslide, who will the new MPs be? A load of student activists and Fruit Loops? What's the vetting process? New Labour MP in Wellingborough, Jen Kitchen, university, local councillor, charity worker. New Labour MP for Mid-Bedfordshire, Alistair Stratton, linked to Greenpeace. Who can forget Tahir Ali in Rochdale as well? Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories there. The new Labour MP for Kingswood, Damien Egan, is so obsessed with identity politics he changes his accent depending on where he is.
We're celebrating Lewisham's small businesses. Our borough's lucky that we've got one of the highest number of small independent businesses in the whole of London. I went to Our Lady of Lourdes and then to Hanham High. When I was young, we were made homeless and lived in temporary accommodation.
If Keir Starmer is struggling to control his party now, how's he going to manage it when he's got 400 or so student activists, charity sector, eco-fanatic, anti-Israel, pro-trans Labour MPs sitting behind him, who would rather Angela Rayner was in charge? That is a problem. But let's get the thoughts now of my panel. I've got Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Alison, I'll start with you. Angela Rayner has blown another gaping hole in the Labour Party today, I think, hasn't she?
I think we can see that we focus a lot, don't we, on the terrible fissures in the Tory party, but this absolutely shows the cracks in the Labour Party. You have got Keir Starmer holding the line on Diane Abbott. I mean, it's a very strange situation, isn't it, Patrick, where Diane Abbott undoubtedly has been the victim of racism. What the Tory donor Frank Hester said was, I mean, absolutely horrible, let's face it, saying that Diane Abbott made him want to hate all black women. So that was pretty dreadful. But then to then start, people in the party to start claiming that you get Diane Abbott back, who was herself delivered racist remarks in November, saying that Jews were not the victim of racism, even though 6 million of them died in the concentration camps because the Nazis didn't like their race. So it's a very fraught situation. I think that, you know, it's putting pressure, as you said, every issue now puts pressure on Starmer, who's trying to hold the Blairite line. But you've got Angela Rayner, and particularly you've got some of the fruitcakes on the backbenches who come out and put pressure.
But he's going to have potentially, like, hundreds more of them. This is the thing.
For sure. Look, the reason he won't be able to hold the line, this is not like when Blair took over. Blair took over in a very different environment. What Starmer's taken over is the Labour Party that was built by the likes of Corbyn. To become a Labour MP, what you do, you go to a selection and you display how much you hate the Tories. And one of the key ways to do that is to talk about some very fringe issue that you believe Tories couldn't support, and in you come. But the problem about that, he's now built up a coalition of disgruntled people who will continue to be disgruntled. And I say this as a mark of respect. Labour MPs are brave. Once they've decided, I'm not going to get a job, let's be clear, one of his real control mechanisms is you'll never be a minister. Once they've decided they don't want that job, they are very brave. You take Diane Abbott, she said many a thing I disagree with, but she said them. She's come out and said them, and he will find that he has a group of people sat behind him who are mouthy beyond belief.
Yeah. Matthew, you've got the deputy leader of the Labour Party now with a load of other people coming in over the top with her, saying, give Diane back the...
Well, that's not what Angela Rayner said. What Angela Rayner says is that she'd like to see Diane back, but the process needs to run its course. Look, this has been an awful week for politics. Let's not get away from the fact that the Conservative Party have taken at least £10 million from a man who makes comments that the Prime Minister describes as racist. Sean, are you happy to deliver leaflets that are paid for by this guy?
But, actually, I think the money should stay and should support black candidates. So, yes, I do.
OK, well, that's not what they're doing. They're paying for leaflets to attack the Tories.
So look, people, Diane Abbott get the whip back?
This Tory donor said that Diane Abbott should be shot.
Should Diane Abbott have the whip
just let me
back?
finish, Patrick. So what he said is that he thinks that Diane should be shot. So therefore, the heart of the Labour Party, people's feelings of comradeship, to use a very Labour Party word, towards Diane, are running high this week. People effectively want to give Diane a hug. What Diane said in her comments were crass and wrong, but she didn't call for anybody to be shot. So what Angela said today is what Keir has said as well, is that the Labour Party's disciplinary procedure needs to take its course so that her crass and wrong comments can be dealt with.
There's two things. That Keir Starmer's trying to buy time, so Diane Abbott has retired, stepped off, before this happens. That's the real thing. And let's talk about paying back donations. You've had major Labour Party donors who have called Hamas freedom fighters.
Who?
Delvince. There you go, Delvince. He said one man's terrorism.
He hasn't supported. Delvince does not support Hamas.
Never was even asked to pay the money back. Let's talk about Just Stop Oil then. He supports them wholeheartedly. They've been absolutely devastated.
There's a difference between supporting Just Stop Oil, Sean, and calling for the death of an MP.
Not really. When you've when you've called Hamas freedom fighters, I'm afraid no. So
he did not say that.
He did. He said one man.
Yeah, it's a well-known phrase. That he didn't say that he thought they were freedom fighters.
Well, I tell you something now. If that's how people read that statement. The point is, you take a Labour MP much more seriously if when they messed up, they asked for the money back, not only when Tories did.
I think it's been one reason it's not been spoken about, really. It's been a dreadful week, as Matthew said, but it's been dreadful because it's going on and on, these people. Racism, diversity, inclusion, gender identity politics. This is all we're going to get. We've got a country where you can't get a medical appointment. Our energy security is rubbish, our military is falling apart, and all the things they argue about the whole time is racism.
Absolutely. Well, the Tories could have closed this down by sending the money back or sending it to a charity.
We're not even a particularly racist country. country.
Nobody said that.
Nice country, but it's you turn on any news.
But Alison, you said it yourself. I mean, what he said was absolutely abhorrent. And the the Tories defended it for 12 hours, Sean. The Tories defended it. They did.
Come on,
they went out on Tuesday morning and defended it.
Did they act quickly enough? No, I would have run out and said this is a racist
Exactly.
comment. But let's be very clear. If you want to talk racism, even Diane Abbott's own case, she's in this position because she made racist comments. Where was the Labour Party then?
They suspended her, and she remained suspended.
It's not even arguably just that about Diane Abbott as well. I mean, the stuff she said about Chairman Mao, the fact that she's never denounced anything, as far as I can tell, I mean, I'm willing to stand corrected on this, about Jeremy Corbyn and some of his
Actually, she spent her formative years on the back of Jeremy's moped.
She said
that was beautifully described.
She said the problem with Britain is white people. Come on. So if you're going to... I want to be very clear about this. What Hester said...
I don't agree with Diane on many things.
Was well beyond the pale. It was racist. I'd even heard them argument that the PM should have came out stronger.
Of course he should.
Let's not pretend...
And the money should go back.
Let's not pretend that the Labour Party haven't done this and also not paid the money back.
So, Matthew, the bigger picture here. Let's say Starmer gets his big majority.
Absolutely.
OK, right? And then...
If we ever have an election.
And then, if you ever have an election, which definitely isn't going to be on the 2nd of May now, but anyway, and you look at the people that are behind him there. You're going to be, student activists.
Absolutely not.
People who've gone straight out of uni, done a bit of rattling the can at a charity, worked at a local council, and then those people. My point for this is those people are not going to be pro-banning men in women's sports. Those people are not going to be saying...
Well, the leader is.
Oh, but he's going to have all these people behind him.
Look, it's a very boring subject, but the Labour Party selection procedure is more controlled by Keir Starmer than even Tony Blair did.
So he was responsible for that bloke in Rochdale, was he?
That bloke in Rochdale had said things that were completely wrong, which were uncovered afterwards. Previously, he'd worked closely with Jewish MPs like Louise Ellman. Look, and it's not... I'm very pleased that we're going to have...
You've admitted that some of the reputable Labour Muslim candidates are under pressure in their own constituencies from the Islamist mob.
And that's absolutely... And lots of Labour MPs have had mobs outside their offices and have stand firm, including Muslim Labour MPs. But no, they're not all from charities. There's a mixture of backgrounds. I'm pleased to have people who've got a charity background.
Right.
No, from business, small businesses, and a whole different backgrounds. That's what you need. You need a diverse set of MPs.
We will see what happens, won't we? We will see what happens. Right, OK, we're off to an absolute flyer. Thank you very much. Speaking when she was suspended in August 2023, Diane Abbott said the errors arose in an initial draft... This is about her suspension. The errors arose in an initial draft being sent, but there is no excuse, and I wish to apologise for any anguish caused. Racism takes many forms, and it is completely undeniable that Jewish people have suffered its monstrous effects, as have Irish people, travellers and many others.